Hey there! So today we are drawing this lioness. We're going to be focusing on the head and shoulders, so about here, just for time purposes. In the Angelic Activation Academy, I want to share longer videos where we would do like her whole body. And I've done a line drawing of the whole thing because I really like this tree and I just like this picture, so I'm gonna do more later. But for today, we're going to focus on head and shoulders, like a little portrait. You can print this out at any size you like, and use any type of drawing paper. I've got a variety of pencils here. I've got some dark brown, some burnt ochres, and some tan and peach colors, and some... see, what's this one? It's called Sandbar Brown, and some dark umbers. So I've got a variety. We'll see which ones I use. I always grab a bunch, and a lot of colors usually end up going in, but you can always change, and especially depending on your type of paper, you can always change up the colors a little to match, like as you're going. If things just aren't quite working out right, then you can always adjust the colors. So I've got these, I've got my paper, I've got my reference photo, I've got pencil sharpener and a kneaded eraser. This is great for, when you use a regular eraser like you probably used in school, leaves all those little like eraser shavings everywhere, and these do not do that. So it keeps everything nice and clean, and they work really well. So I'm going to turn the video around now. And we're going to see how this goes today. This is acting pretty loose, so we're going to see how it goes. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this. So I've already got this line drawing. So what I do for the line drawing, I'm gonna go over it just to show you what I did. So with this, I just start with the head, and I'm looking for the outer shapes first off. So around the ears, upper, top of the head, the ears. And then I'm looking for the inner shape. So we've got the eyes, and I just carry out these shadowy lines. The other major shapes that we know that all animals have are, I guess that's what I would say, is I start with the outer shape, then I go for the shapes that we know that they have. So we know that they have eyes, of course. We know that they have a nose, so I just go around the nose. We know that they have a mouth, right? And so then after I get those basics in, it would look really flat if we just stopped there. So then we look for the shadows and the curvature lines of the face. So those would be these lines here. That would be these shadows over here, this shadow here. And so I just go through and pull out all of these different shadows. There's two little drops on the tops of her eyes, and there's this line here that kind of makes the bridge of the nose more square, or the muzzle, I suppose, on a lion. I don't know what to call those, just the rest of the muzzle there, you pull those out. And then as you go down the body, you see these large shadows here, and you just pull those out, and you pull out the white of her fur here, and you just keep going like that. Just keep pulling out these different shadowed areas that are clearly visible. So I'm going to set this up. I guess here would work, I suppose. That kind of cuts off where I'm going to end it anyway, so that works. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a sip of water. And this is where the fun begins. So I'm going to grab, you know what, I didn't even pull out like a basic tan. Or I guess this is called bronze. So now we just get started. Let's just start with some basic colors. And I'm seeing already that this isn't quite the color that I was looking for. So I'm going to put that aside and grab a different one. And this is just kind of what you do until you get the exact colors that you want. So I'm going to try this one. This one looks a little bit better. And so once again, I'm just starting on the outer edges and just working on these areas as I see them that look like this color. So now it's like, if you've done it like a paint by number, now I'm doing that, except it is, you don't have the numbers. But that's kind of what I'm doing, is just I'm following these different lines here, and I am just blocking in these different tan colors. Okay, and so just anywhere that I see this color or see a version of this color, I'm just throwing this on the paper. And when you first get started, it doesn't have to be like super perfect. It can just be to get started. We can layer colors in later. We can adjust them a little bit here and there. But we're just starting someplace. And this is where I start. Okay. And then, so I've got like kind of the edges going there. So then I'm going to grab a dark brown, is what this pencil is called. If you don't have that specific name, that's fine. Just get a darker brown color. Depending on the kind of pencil you get, they'll all have different names anyways, so it's not really super important that you choose that the same color names that I've chosen. So now I'm just going to do that same kind of thing with these darker colors. So I'm going to see these darker shadows and just start blocking in these darker pieces. And sorry, my face is like really close to this camera right now. I'm trying to see around it. And so I just keep blocking in these areas. And so like I know that the mouth is going to be darker, so I can do the mouth. Okay. And I know that around the nose is going to be a little darker too, so I can do that as well. Okay. And I know that these eyes are also going to be dark around the eyes. And so I just keep going with these areas. And like, if you notice that this is almost a right angle when I make these eyes. Almost, not quite. It's almost a right angle, and then just a, not quite a semicircle also. It's just a semicircle on the bottom. And that makes it look more realistic than if you were to just do a big circle for the eyeballs. Having those angles and the shading makes it really stand out more. Okay, so I've got some of those darker areas in there. I'm gonna grab a green. It's a good thing I set my whole case of pencils next to me. And not all of them were sharp enough. The smaller you're working, the sharper your pencils need to be. And I would honestly, like, I I choose smaller sizes right now just because of the camera, so that you guys can actually see all of these things. But I would honestly recommend doing a much larger drawing because it's easier to get the details in when you're working on a larger paper. So I'm doing, I mean, this paper itself is about 5 by 7. I would recommend doing at least twice that. I think I did a lot of 8 by 10s when I was getting started, and now it's a little bit easier to do some of the smaller pieces, but it's still so much easier to see all the little details and to add them in when you are working larger. So for the ears, you can see there's these little like white tufts, so you want to go around them essentially. So you do the darker parts and leave the lighter parts free. And it'll look kind of silly until we put some more color in there, but it's a lot easier to get the lighter colors if you go with the darker colors around it and you just leave that space open. And if you get serious into color pencils, there are tools that will help you, just where I could just draw right over this and still make it lighter on top. But since I'm going to assume that you don't have all of the colored pencil tools in your office like I do, I'm going to keep it easier with less tools required. And so now I'm just doing some of these darker shadows that I had pointed out before. And these shadows, like, you want to keep them with the curvature of the face, right? So that makes her look like she's got cheeks and not just a flat surface here. So it's important to know where the fur is going, what direction the fur is going in. So out here it's going this way, and out here is that way. Yeah, so the way we're doing this is perfect for when you just have paper and pencils. So any light areas you leave until last. That way you can always make things darker, right? It's easy to make things darker. It's not as easy. It can be done, but it's not as easy to make things lighter. And so I'm continuing, I look at here, I put a mark here. I look here, put a mark here. I look here, put a mark here. So I just keep going back and forth between the reference and this picture. And the more you go back and forth, the more little details you notice. And that's what it's all about. I won't say that. It's not all about the little details. It depends on the style you're going for. I like to do more realistic things when it comes to this. When it comes to angel cards, I don't really care if it looks, exactly like this, or if it's got all of the little details. But when it comes to drawings like this, I like to, keep looking back and forth. Okay, so we're carrying on here. And every time you look back and forth, you're going to notice new things. That's just how that's how the mind works. That's how the eye works. And that's kind of how this medium works. It is not the fastest medium in the world, but it is super fun. Okay, so now I'm using just a beige color to do some of these lighter areas, right? So I think you can still see that on the camera. So now I'm just kind of going through, and this lighter color kind of blends some of these together. And when you start blending, you want to make sure that you are using a lighter color because, like I said, it's easier to add darker colors to it than it is to remove colors. So you just use the lighter color to blend, and then you can kind of get a better feel for where you're at, and then keep going with darker colors to darken necessary spaces up. Okay, and you want to notice that on the tops of the head, like right here and right here, are the lighter spots, and just under the eyes are also the lighter spots. So for those, I'm actually going to grab a white pencil. And that's another one that wasn't sharp enough when I pulled it out of the box. So I'm going to just keep it super sharp here. And that way you get more detail when you have your pencils super sharp. And this is, you get the line down and the curved line under. And sometimes you have to blow away the little pencil dust. Okay, and so I'm just taking some of this white up top too. That's another trick, is to put the white down first, and then when you go on top with another light but not white color over top, then it just automatically makes it a little lighter. Okay, so I'm going to come back in with this beige. I think it was beige. Yeah, beige. Add in some more color here. And same with this muzzle area. So I had a golden color on the outsides, and then I put that beige, and now I'm going to blend out with the white, because on the insides of it and right up against the nose are white, and then it darkens into the golden color. And I'm gonna just pull in a little bit more golden color here because that wasn't quite enough. Okay. And then we need a little bit of this lighter color over the top of the nose. And some more of the golden. And there are always going to be phases in your drawings where you look at it and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I just need to start this over. This looks awful. And you just work through that. There are always going to be places where it looks like that. And then you keep adding little details. You keep going through it and looking for spaces where you can improve. And that's like anything, right? Like anything that you start new that you haven't done before, like you're gonna have this like growth period where you just have no clue what you're doing, and you are just trying new things out, testing things out, seeing how they're going, and learning and growing. And for a long time, if you're always going to end up at the space where you're just like, ugh, I forgot to do that thing again, or this didn't come out right again, or I thought it was gonna look different than this again. But you just keep going, because every time you're gonna learn something new, you're gonna get better at it, you're going to grow, and it's gonna affect other areas of your life. You may not think that drawing a lion is going to change something else in your life, but the patience you gain and the attitude of like trying something new and of, I wouldn't say failing at it, but you know, having that, being new at something again, right? It's going to help you in other areas of your life. And we're going to take another darker color to go over this nose. Actually, there's another color that I'm thinking of that I wonder if I can find. Because all of these different parts have, they're all layered. Like you can't just put one color down and call it done. You have to keep adding up the layers. So I think I found one that I wanted. So this will take the nose just a little bit darker, give it a little bit more texture, and then we'll take it a step further and make it a little bit darker. So like if I only use one color for the tan, that's it would look really flat. And so adding all these extra colors in makes it look more 3D, gives it more dimension, and it's fun, right? And that's what it's about. So for this nose, I layered 3 different colors together. So I had a couple different, it's called burnt ochre and henna. And now I'm doing indigo blue. And so for the nose, it's like you have the curve down here, and then you also have this like really curvy V underneath it that is dark. And so I'm using this indigo blue for that. And it just curves up right around the nose, like because the nose is still kind of perforated over on the sides here. And so it goes up there. And then I just do these little semicircles to put in the nostrils. And then because we want to keep adding that depth, I'm going to add in a little bit of white. Okay, and you notice I keep sharpening my pencils, and that's just to keep that point really super sharp. So I'm just adding in a few little white specks on that nose. I'm not sure if you can tell on this camera, hoping so, but I added a few little white specks there. And then on these sides where I rounded it up, I'm just taking a little bit of white on the insides of that. Okay. And then under here is also going to be white. That's her chin. And I'm going to use a little bit of that henna for the lips. Okay. And this is where I'm coming back in with a darker color, because that section right there just needed to be darkened up a little bit. And you'll keep coming back to those little spaces that just need a little bit more. And that's okay. Okay. So I'm going to take a light color. This is not white, but it is pretty light just for this little section here. It's always lighter on the front of her. That's just where the lighter fur appears. And I'm also going to use a little white in there. And see, I'm just layering the colors, and because it's fur, it's got that texture to it, so I'm making sure that my pencil is going in the direction of the hair, but I'm not being super cautious about like making sure it covers everywhere. I'm just letting it like harsher lines or more sketchy lines. And you can see some of these have little darker areas, so I'm just doing some of those little sketchy lines in there just to give it that fur texture. And the more I look at this, the more pink I see in it. So I'm going to see if I've got some pink over here. I've got peach. And I have a hot pink, which might be a little much, but we're going to try it out. For something like this, just go light. You don't want to get it crazy pink. And so I'm still just kind of going with the fur. So the fur kind of heads in a downward angle out to the side in these areas that we're working on here. And so that's kind of the direction that I'm taking my pencils when I go. And that just gives it that realistic feel too, is having the hair go in a natural pattern. Okay. And I know that it is a little bit darker under the chin, so I'm just gonna I just keep coming back in with a little bit more color so that you can really tell the difference between these two areas. And with the chin, how it's got the shaggy kind of fur, you just do short, quick strokes in order to, like, I'm picking up my pencil every time I come down. That way it doesn't have a harsh line. And I went a little too high, so now I gotta fix that spot. And that'll happen too. You may have to correct yourself a couple times. That's okay. Alright, let's see here. How are we doing on time? Okay, so we're right about at the half hour mark, so we're doing pretty good today. I'm thinking that pretty much all of these are going to be in the half-hour mark. And so we're just gonna put in a few last details and wrap up. So when you're done with your lioness, share pictures. Let's see what we all did in this half hour. And we just keep going back and just finding those little tiny details that make it known, like, what she is and what she does. It makes the facial expressions, it makes the, you know, standing proud, looking over, watching over. It's just getting those little details in. And if you watch the replay, or if you watch live and then come back to the replay, you can always pause and, you know, take as much time on a step as you need. And like I said, I want to do longer videos where I would, you know, we might be there for an hour or so just drawing and talking. So I want to do longer videos in the membership. So if you are interested in that, there are still 4 spaces left to get a free entrance to the membership. So if you're curious about that, just let me know. And I can't wait to see your lioness pictures. They're going to be amazing. And we will keep finding new topics that we can draw each week to keep going with this theme and that we can keep learning from and growing with. So I can't wait to see what you guys come up with, and I will see you in the group later this week. Bye.